thank you for the chance to meet, the chance to be together. We pray that you'll bless as we share things about Believe the Promise. We pray that you'll open our eyes to see what we need to and help us to be clear in what we share and put things together so that everyone can have a clear picture of what's going on. Help us as we plan and prepare. And we know that this is coming soon, and we know that this is something that we want to be ready for, and our clubs need us to be ready for. So bless everyone with their efforts, bless our office team, bless our volunteers, and bless all these club leaders. And together with each other and with your help, we know that we'll get there, and we know that it'll be a great experience. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right. So for tonight, there are some things that we do want to share with you and go over, make sure that we're all on the same page. I want to introduce some people that are becoming more and more important as clubs start to make up their mind on stuff. Javier is our camping director, and he's helping lead us through this event. So this is Javier. He's waving to you. And Javier is doing lots of stuff. He's been putting together committee meetings and agendas and doing all that. So we're very happy for Javier being with us. And Eartha is coming on board as our baptism coordinator. So Eartha is our baptism coordinator. We're happy for that. Thank you for jumping in to help us with that. And there are all kinds of different things that are happening and coming together. And these are things that we are putting final details together and making all that happen. Some of the biggest questions that we're getting at this point have to do with the containers and with insurance and with getting all this stuff set up. So I want to jump into those topics real quick. Central Florida on Sunday, Lurlette put together a practice decontainer loading session. So we had 7 clubs come, and they brought a trunk full of stuff from chairs and tables and canopies, and they started putting stuff in. One club brought folding tables and started putting folding table inside the container. And we said, hey, we're going to let you put that folding table outside the container. You don't have to fill up container space with it. And they were like, really? We were like, yeah, that was part of our communication. So we want you to know that every club that purchased a D-container from us, those clubs are going to get 2 tables, 1 kitchen. Many of you are going to have a kitchen that you set up with poles, the pipes, the big tarp over the top. We'll take that for you, and we'll take a 10 by 10 canopy for you. We also have created a schedule, and we've communicated that online through social media and different things we've sent out. But if you have those things, we only ask that you would make sure they're labeled with your club name on them, because all those things will be loose. They're not going to be inside the container. And because they're loose, those things might shift. When we unload them, we're going to put them all together and put them in a pile. And that's where you're going to come get your tables, your canopies, your 10 by 10 canopies, your tent canopy. So every pole needs to have your club name on it. And that's either a sticker, a wrapper, a piece of tape with it on it, or just right on the pole itself. But we want to make sure that every club knows if you got a D-container from us, those are the things that you can add. Now, the big date to keep in mind is July 28th. Last week, our team here, Jackie, called every club to confirm that you still have the same number of D-containers that we have record of. Because this is a puzzle that we have to put together. This is a puzzle that has to fit, and only so many containers fit in each truck. One truck will go from South Florida to Central Florida to North Florida and pick up containers in each area. One truck will be filled just from South, and one will be filled just from Central. So we want to make sure that the right containers get to the right place, and that all of your gear that you've paid to get transported through the Florida Conference Pathfinder Adventure Department gets there. That loading date is July 28th. And July 28th loading will happen in 3 areas. For Central Florida, it will happen here at the Florida Conference office. For West Florida, it will happen here at the Florida Conference office. And that's our building. The North will meet at Camp Kalakwa, and the South will meet at Maranatha SDA Church. So each of those locations, we're fine-tuning and putting together everything. For Camp Kalakwa, they'll meet at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. That's for North Florida. For Central Florida, we'll start at 8 a.m. and Lurlette is coordinating that, and Yolanda, they'll be working on that to send information out. But if you did purchase a D container, it's very important that you follow that schedule. Here's why. Because the trucks have to leave to stay on schedule. If you can't make it and you miss that time frame, we can't guarantee that you're going to have your container on that truck. So you do have to follow that schedule. You have to show up on the right day, to the right location, and you have to bring the right stuff. There's a whole list online on the BTP.com, FloridaConference.com website that tells you the stuff you can't put in there. No generators, nothing with gas, no propane tanks. Think anything flammable, anything liquid, anything that could explode, even batteries. Some asked us, what about lithium batteries that charged through a solar panel? We said the solar panel you can send in the container, but please don't put a lithium battery in the container, because if the lithium battery leaks or explodes or has an issue, that doesn't only affect your stuff, but it affects everybody else's stuff in the truck. So please do follow that list. On that Sunday, both in all three locations, South, Central, and North, we'll have a team asking you to make sure, are you putting only approved items into the container? Because it's our responsibility to keep everybody safe. One suggestion that's come up is everything that you put in the container, you should have an inventory list of. So you should have a list that says, I put in 10 chairs, I put in 2 pots. That's for several reasons. God forbid something happened to the truck in transport. If you don't know what's in your container and they ask you, what did you put in there? You're going to have to scramble to make it up. In addition, we have to report to the trucking company what's the contents of these containers, because they have to stop at weigh stations and they have to do stuff. They may even stop and get inspected, and they need to know what's in those containers as well. So please do consider doing that and making all that work. That is for Sunday, July 28th, and that's if you purchased a D container from us. Another question we've gotten is, are there any more D containers? And the answer is no, we are sold out. We are sold out of D containers. So then the next question is, well, what are we supposed to do if we have to move gear? And one of our suggestions is that you would consider maybe somebody who's driving, that they would take some of the gear. Maybe somebody who's driving, instead of driving a vehicle like a car, they would take a truck and have more space to haul more stuff. There are some clubs who have said, we're going to take a chuck wagon and drive a chuck wagon out. Sometimes your chuck wagon has space in it that you can haul some of your gear out there with you, so you have all the stuff that you need when you get to Gillette. So those are some of the ideas about transportation of gear. We've also said if you're flying, you might consider telling Pathfinders, look, you get one suitcase, but we're going to give you another suitcase with gear in it because we've got to transport stuff. And then you would have another suitcase that's extra. Depending on which airline you go, that may be an extra fee, it may be included. But those are some suggestions that we have in terms of giving you options when it comes to getting ready for Gillette with the containers. For now, let's limit it just to containers. Any questions for those who have containers about containers or about load dates? Some people, if you know somebody who's trying to get on and they're texting you, that's why we're live streaming it to YouTube so they can watch it there. If they want to, if anybody does message you, please let them know and they can watch it there. They won't be able to interact and ask their question, but at least they'll get the content. Sorry for that. We have hit our max of 100. Back to the question. Anybody have any questions regarding D
Yes,
containers?
I do have a question about the D containers.
Go for
Pastor
it.
Pedro, you mentioned that we don't have to worry to put the folding tables and the 10 by 10 canopy into the D container. Now, are you allowed, how many folding tables are you allowed? It's 1 or 2 folding tables per D container. So if I have 3 D containers, am I allowed 6 folding tables to a D container?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a formula based on the number of people that you have registered. So we'll send that out to you again to make sure everybody gets that. And I don't want to misquote it. So let me send that out and we'll get that to you so you'll have all those details. But yes, if you have more than 1 D container, if you have more than a certain number of people registered for Gillette, we are giving you room for more items because we know that if you have more people, you need more stuff.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Question.
Yes.
Pastor Pedro, good evening, Marcia Smith, Fort Pierce. I'm wondering, have we created yet the email list for the individual who are actually taking the clubs to Camporee. Like, for instance, I'm not on the conference email list, but I'm taking my club to the Camporee. And so it's kind of an extra step. You know, if my director misses an email or so, then I miss the information.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to put my email in the chat. And if you could send me your email address and all your details, we'll make sure you get in there. We did send out a survey. Did you answer the survey?
Yes, sir. I answered the survey and I checked with Leah and she had my survey response. She did have it.
Okay, so then we do have you in the group. We do have your contact list. Okay.
But I haven't gotten any emails. Like
Okay.
I didn't know about the trial for the decontainer, the practice decontainer.
That was just Central Florida. In
Okay.
South Florida, they also have at the Maranatha Church a container where you can go there and arrange that with Merlin Brooks or Calvin Brooks. And Merlin works there as the church secretary, and she can meet you in the chapel where they have the container. And you can go there whenever you schedule that with her. That's for South Florida. And you guys can go practice, see how much fits in there, get an idea, and then you'll have a better way to plan.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. So for South Florida, that is an option. And some of that also keep in touch with Anthony, who's your South Florida area administrator. He can help you with that as well. All right. So just so you know, the containers do not take perishable food. So don't pack bananas, don't pack mangoes, don't pack all the stuff that you want to eat there. And the reason is that truck's going to leave all that stuff on it for a week. That truck won't be unloaded until August 4 on Sunday in Gillette. And you won't get there until Monday, August 5 or Tuesday, August 6. So please don't pack anything there and don't think I'm gonna outsmart the system. I'll just put it on ice. If ice gets in heat, it melts. Melted ice turns into water. Water destroys stuff. So please don't pack any perishable food or anything like that in your containers. All right? Very good. So that's it for containers. Let's move on to insurance.
Sorry.
Or insurance. A question?
Yeah, really quickly. Do you have any suggestions on how to take generators?
Yes, that was my question.
Yeah. So generators would need to be emptied of all gas and even oil if you can, and then refill it there. Again, that's something if you're taking a chuck wagon or something, I'd put that in my chuck wagon. Florida Conference is taking a truck and a trailer with all of our gear for setup. We'll put a generator in the back of our trailer and we'll have it emptied of all flammable liquids. And then once we get there, we'll fill it with liquids and then use it while we're there.
But did I hear you correctly say no generators in the decontainers itself?
Correct. You did hear me say no, and that's even on our list online. No generators in the decontainers. And that's just a safety issue. Yeah, I know that creates a different issue for you because you still want the generator out there. Another option would be to work on renting a generator in Gillette. And that might be something to consider. Okay, is there a question?
Pastor, una pregunta.
Hola.
Somebody need to
Hola,
mute their
pastor.
phone.
Buenas tardes. Pastor, una pregunta. ¿Es necesario que cada club lleve un generador? ¿Es necesario o
So
es
the question is it necessary to bring a generator? And I would say no. No es necesario llevar un generador. But like it's camping. So if you're used to camping without a generator, you'll be fine. If you're used to camping with a generator, then you're probably going to want a generator. It's how you're used to camping. But you won't have access to electricity. So it's not like there's a plug you can plug stuff into and get all the electricity you want by your campsite. So some campsites do it without electricity. Some like to have electricity. That's a local club decision. Okay?
Gracias.
De nada. Thank you for the question. Cada club decide si necesita o requiere un generador. Okay, let me move to insurance real quick. For insurance, we are working with Florida Conference here with our risk management team, and they're working with us to make sure we're communicating the right things. When it comes to insurance, there are several layers of insurance, several different insurances. One is the travel insurance. The travel insurance is mainly a medical insurance. The travel insurance is something that comes from Adventist Risk Management. That's a link that's at our BTP Florida Conference website. The amounts of what that insurance covers are all listed there. The cost is $9 and some change, a little under $10.
$9.61.
Thank you, $9.61. And the cost for the application is $20. You can put 2 people on an application, or you can put 2,000 people on an application, and it's still $20. So you can pay $20 as much as you want, but our recommendation is put everybody's name on one time, pay the $20 once, and everybody's covered. Why is Camporee and why is Florida Conference asking everybody attending Camporee to get the insurance? Here's the simple reason. Because this insurance will cover you for any medical expense that happens up to $50,000 in most cases. So if there's an accident in a vehicle, if someone's injured while they're at Camporee, if they get an illness that requires hospitalization while they're at Camporee, this insurance will cover you and cover the Pathfinders and cover all those people you're traveling with. This is something that Camporee is saying isn't optional, it is required, and it's a way for everybody to make sure that they're covered if there were a medical emergency. I think it's well worth the $9.61. Outside of travel insurance, well, let me say this. Travel insurance covers you 7 days before, during Camporee, and 7 days after Camporee. So please make sure that that's the time span for the insurance for medical, for travel insurance. The second insurance is vehicle insurance. If you are renting a vehicle, that vehicle should be insured through Florida Conference at the amounts of $1 million policy, which is what Florida Conference will give you through risk management. We sent out an email with Rhonda Harper so that you could contact her, fill out the form, do all that, and get the appropriate insurance. When you go to the counter of Enterprise, Hertz, Avis, wherever you go, they will not be able to offer you that level of insurance. The price for that insurance, depending on the number of days for the vehicle and the type of vehicle, is like $75 to $250. So it's very comparable, but the insurance is way more in terms of value if you needed to use it. So that is a separate insurance. That is a rental insurance for cars, and that is not covered by travel insurance. Travel insurance covers travel for the people and medical. Car rental insurance covers for the rental of the car. Also, we're asked to remind everyone that if you are renting vehicles, you are not allowed to rent, use, borrow, have 15-passenger vans, and many times 12-passenger vans. If the wheelbase, wheel to wheel, is over 135 inches, Florida Conference and AD has said those vehicles can be unstable. If you get a flat tire or if you have to swerve to miss something, they can lose control, and they are a risk for every passenger. So we don't want those kinds of accidents. We're asking you and reminding you, please do not rent 15-passenger vans. There are other options. There are SUVs. There are vehicles that have dual wheels in the back. If you're looking for like a little minibus, if it has 2 wheels in the back, that's safer than just a 1 wheel in the back. So there are some other options. Minivans work well. You do need more drivers for minivans. We understand that, but we want to make sure that kids stay safe. Now, if you are taking a personal vehicle, this has been policy for Florida Conference for a long time. You need to have on your personal insurance for your personal vehicle 100, 300 in your policy. And that's something that's the minimum you need to have. So if you are transporting Pathfinders in your own car, you need to have 100, 300 insurance. And that means that those Pathfinders would be covered through your vehicle insurance. That's personal insurance. So there are several layers of insurance. I just wanted to go through all that and make sure everyone's clear. Any questions on the insurance?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was reading the ARMS insurance policy and recommendations. I did see about the 15-passenger versus the 12-passenger, but it specifically states on the ARMS that it is recommended to purchase the Insurance offered from the rental agency to protect your organization in event of loss. So what is different from what you're telling us to what I'm reading?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for bringing out that difference. Our office is telling us that it needs to be through them. So I'm surprised that ARM is saying to do it through the local agency. I'm going to ask you to follow what I'm saying and do it through us. Here's why. Because the local rental agency won't give you the amount of coverage that the conference will in terms of insurance for a rented vehicle. So I'll look into that and check in with our ARM people here, our risk management team also, and see why that discrepancy is. Thank you for pointing it out. And I am asking that you would go the path we just spoke about to get that car rental insurance through the conference office.
Pedro, I have a question also.
Yeah.
So we're going early, so like for us, just as a family, and we're renting a car in Gillette to do some
Okay.
traveling.
Yeah.
Does that same insurance for that type of rental car too, or is that something completely separate? Because we're just going as a family.
Yeah. So if you're as a family and you're only taking your biological family and it's only you, then you decide whatever you want to do. If you're not hauling Pathfinders, you don't have to have certain coverage. You understand the own risk that you have with your family and you decide as a family what you want to do. Good question.
Okay.
Thank you, Micah.
Thank you.
There are two hands, Pedro. There are two hands
Yep.
up.
I
So
know. I just keep
Sorry.
hearing voices before I get to the hands.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jen.
so I have a question. So we have a few families that are flying on their own,
Yeah,
because they're doing a mini vacation.
sure.
Do I have to, but they're registered under our club, do I have to put them on the insurance?
On the travel insurance, yes.
Yes. Okay. Just making sure.
Everybody who is going to be with you at Camporee, whether they travel on their own or with you or separate or by themselves, doesn't matter. If they're going to be with you, we're asking that they all would be covered under that policy. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. Thank you.
Zoltan.
Hello, Pastor.
Hey.
Quick question. Well, two. So one, we're driving as a family to Gillette, pulling a trailer. Do we also? Well, you just kind of answered the question about, we make the decision for our own families, but do we also need the insurance for the trailer as well as the vehicle? So that's
Yeah,
two
that-
different vehicles then.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So that has come up in several things as well. The recommendation is if you are hauling Pathfinder gear in the trailer, get it insured. And that is because if there is loss, if something happens, then you have a backup plan. I don't know that your personal insurance would cover a trailer that's hauling stuff for the church if it's not your personal stuff. Maybe your insurance would. They'd say, doesn't matter. Whatever is connected to your vehicle is covered. I'd ask my own insurance. And the beauty of the insurance policy that's separate is if there is loss, that loss doesn't get claimed to your personal insurance, but it gets claimed to the insurance that was supplemental for the event, which hopefully helps your insurance not go up because there's less of a claim against your personal policy. That's the benefit of insurance. Okay.
Also, we're packing up a U-Haul trailer and going up. Now, I don't know how much space we're going to have, but if anyone wants to get my information regarding a generator getting up there, I'll write my number in the chat, and I can let if we have space, it's good. I can offer that space, first come, first serve.
I like that. Thank you very much. And let me just brag on Zoltan for a second. He's the guy that played the trumpet at the E-Tracker worship at Red Zone on Sabbath morning. And I was so happy to hear him play trumpet. And he was accompanied on the piano by his daughter. Isn't that fantastic? So it was fun to see.
And I got attacked by one of the flagpoles. I got a nice gash on my face right before going up.
Yeah, that wasn't the highlight. I know that was sad. But we're so glad that you were doing that. So, hey, if you need a generator moved, Zoltan from down in Jupiter is saying, hey, I've got a U-Haul. It's got space maybe for a generator to hit me up. So message Zoltan.
This is Marlene Hunt from Lauderhill. We
Yes.
do have a generator that would like to get there. So if you post your information, I will reach out to you.
Okay.
Look
Wow.
at that.
I've already gotten a couple of texts here.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
good. We're happy to make those kind of connections. All right, let's go to Jonathan.
I had a question, Pastor, before I responded to that. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
With the insurance, but it was partially answered. We're using a bus, but there are other other family members who will be coming in, but they are flying in and then they're renting vehicles in Denver and driving over.
Okay.
So how do we handle that insurance? One. And
Yeah.
Collectively, should I speak to the treasurer at the church and have him send the paid for the group going to Gillette for the insurance?
So let me start with your first one. The bus will need to be insured separately through the bus company and ask
Yes.
them for insurance. In terms of a family, here's where it gets tricky, and this is the difference. If it's a family and only a family, they're free to do whatever they want in terms of car rental insurance.
Mhm.
If it's a family that's hauling Pathfinders that aren't part of their family, then we're asking that you would be insured through the Florida Conference Insurance.
Okay.
So that's the difference. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that sometimes plans change and people say, oh, well, my son's friend was going to be on the bus, but he wants to go with this family and they're in a car. And that's where it starts to get a little dicey because the people who are set up to be in the right vehicle, that's where they need to go. In terms of travel insurance, everyone needs it. In terms of auto rental insurance, if it's a family only with their family, I would recommend they still get it, but that's a family decision. In terms of your church, does your church do one bill for everybody and you charge everybody $10 or $9.61? You as a local church can decide with your treasurer how you want to do that. That's not something that we really will tell you what to do.
I understand. I just wanted to know for fluency and because there are people who are going separately, but we have a collective body. We have a collective group of pathfinders that we're taking as a cluster, and there are other subgroups that are going. So I was referring to that specifically.
Okay.
Pastor Pedro, you mentioned about insurance on the trailer. What is the name of that insurance for the trailer? We're pulling a trailer with our belongings because it won't fit in the van with all the people. And I didn't want to overload the van pulling the trailer because it becomes a issue.
Yeah, that's smart. Thank you for that. I don't right off have a company in mind. I can ask our risk management if they're recommending one. You may want to just go to your local insurance provider, whoever you're using now, Geico, Allstate, Allfarm, or State Farm, and ask them if they do insurance, but I'll make a note of that and we'll send something out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, we're just talking about insurance for now, and
You
then I
got
want to move
Jonathan
to
and-
something else. So two more hands.
Yeah.
Good
Jonathan.
evening, family. It's Jonathan from Kissimmee Spanish. That's mean, sorry for my English is to understand a little, I go little by little. Okay, if I got cover the car and cover my liability in the two vans that I rent, I need to take the transportation insurance, right?
Correct. If you're renting a vehicle, the vehicle should be covered for rental insurance through the Florida Conference. And that's an email that we sent out. We can post the link to our webpage as well, so you can pull the information from there.
Okay, that means that I need to have both.
So travel insurance covers the people for medical. Car rental insurance covers the vehicle and the people in the vehicle. So it's double that way.
Okay, I need to do it. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Marcia?
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, Pastor. Oh, thank you for calling me Marcia, not Marcia. We kind of skipped over it a little bit. If we can go back to the decontainers and ask about the fire extinguishers, because the recommendation is for two different types, and it seems to me that they should not go in the decontainers because they're combustible. So how are you recommending we get the fire extinguishers there? Because we need two of them.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I did answer someone today about when you say combustible, it's not combustible in terms of it explodes and creates an explosion. It's could fire, it could go off, right? And it could be there. If you're a club that has no one driving, let me confirm that with our trucking companies, but I think that the fire extinguisher isn't an explosion risk. It could go off and make everything in your container covered with the contents of the inside of the fire extinguisher, but I don't think it's a risk to the other decontainers. Javier, do you have any thoughts on that or input on that? I'll check into it because I know that question's coming up.
I know Sam's Club
thank you,
sells
Pastor.
them. That's where we got ours from. So I don't know if you could purchase it once you get there or order it online.
Yeah, but then it'd be a loss because you couldn't transport it back. And yeah,
Oh.
well, let me look into that. That's a good question. And thanks for the input. Javier, did you want to say anything?
No, I just want to say that that's a good question. We need to check and see on that. We just put in that list the items that the company is telling us not to put in the container. But we can double check with the company again.
Yeah, very good.
And Pastor Pedro, you are right. If the fire extinguisher has a pin, and if that pin happen to pull or thing press on it and it fly out, then the contents will be all over. It will not get out of the decontainer, but it will be all over everything in the decontainer. And we do not know if those things are hazardous. I could find out from our drill director, who is a fire he deal with fire extinguisher.
Got you. Yeah, that'd be good.
Pastor Pedro, the list that was sent out for non-allowables, fire extinguisher is on the list.
It is.
Yes, it is. It is on the list
Non-allowables
under
list, fire
hazardous.
extinguisher is on there, under hazardous.
I didn't memorize the list, so thank you for that.
Yeah, and that's what we're checking to see if it's a type of fire extinguishers that is not allowed, and maybe another type that is allowed. We just need to check with the company and see what they tell us.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay. Very good. So let me move us on from insurance, from decontainers. Let me go to registration. Here's something that we're facing. I'm sorry, there's one hand. Sims, do you have a question about what we've talked about so far?
Yes. So there's a question posted. I'm not sure who's monitoring the chat, but there's a question asking you to repeat the wheelbase for the 12 passenger vehicles, and I had the same question. So there are several questions in the chat. I'm not sure who's monitoring that.
Thank you. Stephen, I'm going to ask you to jump into that if you could, and keep us on top of all the questions in the chat. For the answer is 135 inches. It's 135 inches for the wheelbase. All right. Anything, Stephen, to go through on the chat before we move forward?
I'm looking. I'm trying to see how far back that was.
Okay, so I'll let you do that and we'll move on. Here's something for registration that we're facing. We have latest numbers today, 3,753 people, I think, registered through camporee.org. We were supposed to close registration today for Florida Conference through YMMS. Guess how many people were registered in YMMS?
1,700.
Half.
Oh, wow. So now I feel good. We're doing better than half. We had almost 3,000 registered in YMMS. So we're very happy for that. And we're concerned about the 750 people who aren't registered in YMMS. So here's what we want to share as the big announcement tonight. We are extending the deadline for one final time for registration in YMMS. On July 1 at 1 p.m., registration in YMMS, in terms of counting towards camping space, will be closed. So if you haven't gotten five family members registered or 10 people registered, you can still register them after July 1, but we're not going to give you more camping space to accommodate them in your campsite. So July 1, 1 p.m. is the last day to get camping space based on your YMMS registration numbers. This is people who are completely registered, cleared, done with SV, all the adults, all that stuff. If you miss that deadline, you're going to miss the chance to get the camping space for those people because we have to have solid numbers and we have to move on. We have to start getting our maps ready. We have to start getting our campsite layout ready. We've got a lot of things we got to do, and it all depends on having solid numbers. So July 1 p.m., we're going to shut the numbers down. Here's the question. Somebody might say, well, what if I still have to register people? Register them. What if they haven't completed their background check? Let them complete their background check. What if they're not done with SV? Let them finish their SV. But if you want them to count towards your campsite space, they must be registered completely and fully by July 1 p.m. in YMMS. Do they still have a ticket to Camporee? If you have it, they have it. Do they still get to go to Camporee? As long as they meet their background check. Those details don't change, but camping space will change. Here's the other thing that we found out this week. July 4, Camporee will stop swapping tickets from conferences and from different clubs. They're going to say at that point, doesn't matter. You can swap them, but they don't need to know about it because they're not changing their numbers anymore. The union already shut down. They've said the union is as big as the union is going to be. Now they're saying the conference will be as big as the conference is going to be, and those numbers will just be solid, and they're moving on. So please hear me carefully. July 1 is the deadline to get camping space for your club based on the number of people registered inside YMMS. After that, you can still add people, you can still swap people, you can still have people work on their background check, and you need to do that. My suggestion to you is make sure everyone in your club is done with their background check before the end of, what's that date? August. Let me give you a date because I don't want you to miss Camporee because you're not done with your background check. That should be July 22. I would say July 22, every adult that you're bringing with you from your club should be done with their background check. If they're not, then there's a chance that they might not clear in time. And that is something that Camporee has asked every conference to monitor and make sure that only adults who are SV background checked and cleared, that they've done all that. So the deadline was today, 1 p.m. We're extending it for one more week. On July 1 p.m., we'll gather the numbers of everybody who's registered, and we're going to determine who can camp, who will have space to camp in your campsite. July 1 p.m. After that, feel free to continue registering, continue getting people completed, get all their background checks done, work with all your adults, do all those things, but they're not going to count towards your camping space because our first deadline was June 14. We moved it to June 24. We're moving it one last time to July 1, but after that, we're saying, we don't know how else to help you. If you can't get that part done, then it's going to start to cost you camping space because we've got to move on with some solid numbers. So
but before you answer the hand, there are two questions in the chat.
Okay.
Does the camping space include babies?
I don't think so because babies don't take up 100 square feet.
Okay.
It's like a baby in an airplane. If you buy an extra seat, but you don't do that usually until they're 3 or older.
Right. Second question is, can the order of pins also be extended?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a no. The order of pins can't be extended because I've got to give an order to them tomorrow and tell them, here's how many pins we need. We will order extra pins and they'll be available first come, first serve at Gillette. But we need that number because the production company has to get that into production and ship it to us so we can get it before we get to Gillette. Otherwise, nobody's going to get pins at Gillette. So on the pins, the answer is no. We won't extend the deadline, but that's for shirts too, but we will have some available for you on site.
Thank you. That was my question.
Oh, wait, time out.
I'm sorry.
There are a couple of more camping space questions, but there are two hands now. So maybe you want to deal with the hands first, and then I'll go back to the chat.
Well, let's just keep going with you, and then we'll come here.
Okay. So do we have to register international attendees so that you can take them into account for camping space, or are you all taking that into account separately?
Yeah, so we sent out a questionnaire for internationals so you could declare how many internationals were camping with you. The first question, should I register them in YMMS? You can't, because they don't have a social security number, they don't have a driver's license, they don't have a Sterling background check, so you can't register internationals in YMMS. What we want to do in our meeting on July 21 is if we have any questions about who's coming and all that, we want to make sure we get all those numbers and go over that with you on our final Zoom meeting in July 21. So please keep that in mind. I think is there another question?
What age counts for space?
I would say 4 and up. If you've registered them as 4 and up in YMMS as attending.
I say go to the hands, then there are 3 more questions.
Okay.
Okay. So the first hand was Heike. Did I pronounce that right? Heike.
Yes.
All right.
So quick question. So we already finalized. Is that going to be a problem if we ended up adding some more people after we finalize? Because I got a message making sure to finalize our registration today. So which is what we did.
Yeah. So if you finalize, you're done. Like you're on easy street. You've done everything you need to. And now if you need a swap or if you need to do something, and if something changes and somebody says, I want to go, and somebody says, I got a ticket, they can go, feel free to add them. Do it by July 1, and that will count towards space for you to camp. So yeah, you're good. For those of you, I know some of you worked really hard because you've got a lot of people to clear. And for those people, we thank you. Like you've made our lives easy. For those of you who have drug your feet and haven't done it yet, it's complicated your life a little bit now because now you've got a deadline and it's going to affect your camping space. But this deadline is almost 3 weeks after the original deadline. So it's kind of where we are in the process. And we're just saying, hey, we don't want you to not have camping space, but we've got to have a way to move forward. And we can't with people not getting that part done. So, Jonathan, I see a hand up.
Yes. If the people that they already made the background check, I don't know exactly how long take because in the YMMS some are approved, some are like checking or pending. Is this something that I need to monitoring daily or?
Yeah. So my counsel to you would be, yes, monitor it as regularly as you can. And if after 3 to 5 days it hasn't cleared, then that's something to either call Sterling or call our office. That's something that our team is working on every day, trying to clear people, because we want to make it easier for you. So there's part that we have to do. There's a part that Sterling has to do. So if after 3 to 5 business days it hasn't cleared, and you're watching that, definitely start calling Sterling, start calling or emailing our office to make sure that you get the help that you need to get them cleared. Again, because July 1 p.m., those will be our final numbers for Camporee.
Okay, perfect. And the people that I got in my list in YMMS, I need to choose for the list that are going to the camping. I need to check the amount of people that go to the Camporee and later go to explore data or what?
I'm not sure of what the question is. Try one more time. Give me one more chance to understand it.
Okay, in the YMMS, I got the list of all the people I registered in my YMMS, but not all going to the camping.
Right.
I need for example, I got 50 and I just have 30 for go to the camping. I need to check all of those, and after that I need to go work.
No, so only those who you want to register for Gillette need to be cleared for Gillette. You don't have to register all 50 if only 30 are going.
Okay.
Did I understand the question?
Yes.
I thought he was saying that 30 are staying on site. Maybe that's what he meant, and the rest are not staying on site.
It sounds like 30 are going and 20 are not going. But he has 50 in YMMS. So 30 of them are going to the International Camporee, 20 are not going to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so only those attending Gillette need to be registered. And please don't try this. Please don't think, oh, if I get more space, I'll just register 10 people that aren't even going to Gillette. Please don't do that. Don't add people just to get bigger camping space, because we're going to start calling and checking to make sure the number Camporee sent us, the number you put in YMMS, we're going to ask you, why don't those match? How come Camporee says you bought 48 tickets, but you only registered 14 people? What happened to the other tickets? That's the kind of thing our team's going to start doing, is calling people and trying to understand what happened and what you've done, what you haven't done, as a way to try to get those numbers as accurate as possible.
Or you have 14 tickets and you registered 48 people.
Correct.
Okay, we have some questions in the chat.
Okay.
All right, so please indicate what time is the pickup for decontainers for South area at Maranatha.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say 7:30. Let me go to my document and make sure. South Florida will be
8 to 12.
Who said 8 to 12?
Mi, Pastor, decía ahí desde las 8 hasta las 12 del mediodía solamente. En uno que nos mandaron.
Pastor, I think if I heard correctly a few weeks ago when we talked about that, I think the South wanted to start earlier, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
But remember, this is a window. So not all the clubs need to be there at 7 a.m. It's just
right.
So, but correct me if I'm wrong, Calvin or Anthony.
You are right. You are right, sir. You are right.
Okay. Yeah, and so just imagine in South Florida, you have over 70 containers that need to be packed. Then they need to be loaded into a semi. One semi comes up to Central to get more stuff put in it. The other truck goes full from South Florida. So please continue to watch for details and information. If you don't get emails, please email me, because you might not be on a list. I'll put my email in the chat just to make sure. But yeah, we will keep sending out more information so that you stay informed, because we don't want you to miss those deadlines and those times. Another question?
And Pastor
yes,
Pedro,
oh, sorry,
Pastor
hang on.
Pedro,
Yeah.
we don't want no one be sending information which is not correct. So they got to check with us, check with you, and us to have the correct information for down here.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a good point. All right, next question in the chat.
Do we pick up the decontainers ahead of July 28th?
No. Decontainers will be loaded on site at one of those 3 locations: Camp Calaqua, Florida Conference Office, or Maranatha Church. And that is the only place where decontainers will be packed and then put into the truck. Several reasons for that. We want to have our team there watching what goes in, just kind of making sure that the right stuff goes in. We also want to make sure that you're using only the container that we provide, because they have to match and fit perfectly so that everything that we have planned to put in those trucks work. So yeah, the only way to load is to come to the site on that date during those times to make sure that everyone gets in their container what they need to.
Next question. Next question is, the number reported of who is camping in tents changed from the survey. What is the best way to report the change so I will get the correct number for camping space?
Send us an email, because we have the master list, and every time there's a change, we'll change it on the master list. And that's what we're going to base our numbers on.
Okay. Here's another one. How does the registration process, what happened? How does the registration process work when we arrive at the camp? Do we go somewhere specific to show our tickets to be allowed into the camp, or do we go to our conference area to register and get our camp area?
Yeah, so there are two parts when everyone arrives that you all need to do. One part is come to Florida Conference to check in with Florida Conference. That's where you'll show your YMMS ticket, we'll scan you in. That's where we'll send you to your campsite, okay? That's Florida. You'll come in through Gate L. We'll go over this in more detail in the July meeting, but all conferences are connected to unions, and all unions have been given different gates. Southern Union Gate is Gate L. We're going to share with you a map in July. We're going to share with you a GPS coordinate. So you can put that into your GPS and know that this is the gate that you need to come in. The reason is because not all gates access all conferences. Only the gate for your union will match the gate to get to your conference inside that union. So that's something very specific. That's one of the things you'll need to do. Come to Florida Conference through Gate L, part of Southern Union, find Florida Conference headquarters, check in with your tickets for YMMS. We'll give you a wristband that says Florida Conference. Then you can go to your campsite. For Camporee, you'll go to the other side of the property where Camporee is doing their check-in. This is where you check in with Camporee. When you check in with Camporee, that's where you'll also need to have your ticket, but that's your Camporee ticket, not your YMMS ticket. Those tickets won't help you in the wrong place. If you take your YMMS ticket to Camporee, it won't work. If you take your Camporee ticket to YMMS, it won't work. You have to take the right ticket to the right place. For Camporee, you'll take the ticket, they'll scan it. That's where they'll give you the wristband for Camporee, and that's what gives you access to all of Camporee. So Camporee is one check-in, one wristband. Florida Conference, YMMS is another ticket with another wristband, and that gives you the freedom to walk around Florida Conference and know that you're part of Florida Conference at the Camporee.
Which do you suggest that they do first?
Yes, it's your choice.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing is, if you have somebody who's not background checked, that could be an issue. So please make sure that, first of all, just don't bring anybody that's not background checked with your club. That's why we're asking you to complete all that registration in advance. All right.
Here's a question again. Since the conference/union is requesting clubs to wear specific shirts on specific days, will club be able to purchase shirts at Gillette?
Yes. And just so you know the schedule, the black t-shirt is Wednesday. The multicolor soccer jersey shirt is Thursday. And then the union shirt is Friday. All of that is listed on the website. I think I may have got those first two back mixed up. But yeah, all that schedule is on our website.
What if you do not buy shirts?
Then wear whatever you want that's appropriate for a Camporee.
I ordered shirts in YMMS, and one of the orders shows the transaction under paid, but then the same order number is not showing up under the products
del
order.
Camporee, del campamento. Ya pasaron mi pregunta y no lo han leído.
I would say send Leah an email to make sure so that you don't get to Camporee shirts and don't get your shirts.
And then finally, if we purchase tickets from other clubs, do we need to contact the Camporee and inform them we now have them, or we do not need to, anything since the tickets were purchased from another Florida Conference club?
Up until July 4, Camporee is saying we want to know about those changes.
You can go to the hand.
All right, Heike, what's your question?
Sorry, it took me a minute to get off mute.
Sure.
Question with the check-in. I know you said there's going to be two separate check-ins. So does every single person have to go to both of these, or can the director bring all the tickets to get checked in?
Good question. So there are two check-ins because Camporee is asking each conference to make sure that everybody's background checked. Camporee is counting on, once the conference has done their part, our part's easy. We just get the ticket and give the wristband. I will have to double check, but I'm almost sure that to check in with Camporee, it's just the ticket and not each person. Okay, Jen, what's your question?
So how do I tell the Camporee that I'm switching tickets or I'm selling tickets and they're not under my anymore? How do I do that?
Yeah, so you can if you go to the website, there's the Camporee website. There are links to different people on the team from Center for Youth Evangelism, CYE, and that's where you would send that information into them.
Okay.
And sorry, I don't have that link right in front of me right now, but that's how you do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Mozart, I see your hands up.
Yes, good evening. I don't know if you're going to get to this, but I don't think I can wait till July. Will the Florida Conference be doing any campsite inspections at Camporee?
Good question. I have not had that in any conversation so far. So the answer is no. No campsite inspection at Camporee for Florida Conference.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you wanted to do an inspection on your own as a director, feel free, but there is not an organized Camporee inspection.
Dale.
Okay. You're muted,
muted.
Dale. Yeah, there we go. Well,
Still muted.
Sorry. The question I have is, are we going to be required to have our full dress uniform, or is it just more camping uniforms?
Yeah.
Because I know that you sent out a thing about selecting a certain amount to be on the parade on Sabbath, but I was wondering about the rest of the time.
Yeah, good question. So there are a couple times where Pathfinders are encouraged to be in full dress uniform. One of those would be Sabbath morning. Another one would be when they're in the daily on-site parade, which for Florida Conference as part of Southern Union, our daily on-site parade is on Friday morning. You start assembling around 9 a.m. in the conference area, move to the union area, gather as a union, and then as a union, come to the parade assembly area for the daily on-site parade. That is a full uniform. So most people on Sabbath will be in uniform for the service. Most people that want to participate in the parade will be in full uniform. And outside of that, you're free to wear whatever kind of field uniform or comfortable clothing that you want. And just on the topic of clothing, let me remind everyone, they do expect warm 90s to 100 during the day and cooler 60s, maybe 50s. It is a dry heat. Make sure your kids bring some form of container to carry water around. You may want to consider asking everybody to bring lotion or chapstick after a week in that dry, high altitude air of the Gillette area. It's not high altitude, but it's higher than Florida. Florida is almost sea level. Your kid's skin will feel it. It will crack. It will start to get dried. They'll want some kind of headgear probably because the sun will be warm to them. So just make sure you think of those things in terms of clothing as well.
I have a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
Based on the double check-in, are we not going to be able to have people visit us in Florida Conference?
No, that's not true. They'll be able to come and visit. We'll just know they're not from Florida. So our security team that's going around will recognize them. But there's no limitation about who can come from another conference who's also banded for the Camporee.
Right. Another question, just to clarify, guests with day passes should be registered in YMMS and background checked, right?
So all the day pass people, we would recommend that they do be background checked. I know for our day event stuff, we're a little bit more lenient with that, but because the standard is higher for this event, we would ask that everyone be background checked. Someone asked if people can get in the waiting room. They can watch this live on YouTube. And Stephen, if you could jump in there, some people said that there are questions in YouTube. Maybe there are different questions there.
Okay.
If you have a chance to do that.
Right. And let me finish up with this. Also, I know generators with gas are not allowed, but what about portable solar generators?
Yeah, that question came up earlier, and the suggestion was you can bring the solar panels inside the decontainer, but the battery that they charge should not be in the decontainer. And that may be a deal breaker for some people who are trying to take that. But we don't want those big battery packs inside the decontainers, because if they wear down or break or heat up or something happens and there's an issue, that would create an issue for everybody in the trailer.
Another question is, where will the conference shirts be located at to pick up?
Yeah, so let me share briefly what our plan is. Each area in Florida, central, north, south, west, will have an area headquarters. We'll have a flag up that has the area color, so the purple, the blue, the red, the yellow. So Pathfinders and clubs should easily be able to see where their conference headquarters is. The area headquarters. The area headquarters will also have a generator. So at night, there'll be a light tower there. Also during the day, there'll be times when that generator's turned on. There'll be a charge station there. So if you need to charge your phone, you'll go to your area headquarters. Also, Florida Conference has rented a big tent, 40 by 20, and a trailer. That trailer has 3 rooms. That's where Florida Conference Medical, Florida Conference Security, and Florida Conference Office headquarters will be. So you'll see that all in the map that we're going to put together for you. This is Florida Conference headquarters, where security, medical, and the office are. Then there's a tent next to it where we'll have our morning meeting at 7 a.m. with all of our directors or a representative from each club. And that's where the headquarters will be. We also have a special surprise for what the headquarters will have in terms of part of our entrance. So we're looking forward to that, but you will definitely see the Florida Conference headquarters. You'll have area headquarters, 4 of them, north and west will be close and shared, but they'll be separate. And then we'll have the conference headquarters. So that's how we're going to have everything laid out.
I saw an interesting question here.
Yeah.
What time would we have to pack up our stuff, tents, etc., for decontainers after Camporee ends?
Yeah, great question. In the document for decontainers, it says 9 a.m. everything should be packed back in the decontainer. Some of you will leave Saturday night, so you can't wait till Sunday 9 a.m., right? You need to pack it that night. So depending on when you're leaving, that's when you need to start packing. But we are asking that everyone would have their decontainer packed no later than Sunday morning, 9 a.m. That gives you time to have breakfast, gives you time to start packing up stuff, get tents out, put them inside. And that's something that we wanted to make sure everyone does know. So thank you for the question. 9 a.m. Sunday, all decontainers should be filled. If you do need to leave Saturday night, you do need to have your decontainer filled that night so that it's ready to go and that we don't have to look around and what do we do with this thing?
I think you answered this next question. What about a generator that's basically new in the box? No gas, no oil.
That's a clever question. What risk is a generator that's never been out of the box and has no flammable liquids in it? I guess my question would be, how do you plan to return that generator to Florida? Because you're going to use it there. You're going to put gas and oil in it, and we won't take it back. So I'm going to say that's a no to take it up.
Excellent
Pastor
answer.
Pedro,
Yes, Elizabeth.
yo había hecho una pregunta ahí en el chat, pero está en español y el hermano habla inglés.
Okay.
yo anoté a un conquistador porque estábamos en último momento en el YMS por fe, pero no le dieron el permiso para ir del trabajo. ¿Cómo hago ahora para yo retirar del YMS a ese conquistador?
Ok, mándale un correo a nuestra oficina y las mujeres le van a ayudar.
Ok, gracias, pastor.
De nada, pero mándale el correo con el nombre, con todos los detalles, el club, el nombre del muchacho, todo y les ayuda. So the question was, I've registered somebody, but they're not going to be able to make it. How do I do it? And I asked her to contact the office and the ladies will help her with that.
Here's a suggestion. There's a suggestion that may I suggest that we wear bare bones uniform if it gets hot?
Yeah, you're free to put whatever portion of the uniform you want on. Some people feel like the sash is too hot. Some people, if they're master guides, don't want to wear the full suit. They'll just wear the slacks and a shirt. That's up to you. Like even at our events, we say we'd prefer you in a Class A for Sabbath. Some people don't wear a sash. Some people don't wear a tie. Some people kind of modify it more of a Class B. And we've tried to even flex on that for Florida events. So yeah, you do what you feel comfortable with. All right. I am watching
Can we
the
have
time.
campfires? Can we have campfires?
I have a very important question. I've been waiting from the beginning. Could I ask, please? It has to do with the master guide investiture.
Okay, one moment. Let me finish the question Stephen just asked. So the question is campfires. I've not heard anything on that to allow campfires. So I'm going to say that campfires will be a no. I know that's a big part of camping, but with this many people and the restrictions, I think are no campfires. Let's go to Lauderhill with Sister Hunt, and then we're going to start wrapping up. I know
okay,
that
regarding the master guide investiture,
Yeah.
there are some master guides that are registered to be invested at Gillette.
Yeah.
And I noticed that when I did the registration, we had to fill it out with the conference director and everything. And it states clearly that they need to pick up their investiture material at Advent Source at the side of the stage before they go to the event.
Okay.
But somebody asked a question before, and I was wanting to know if that was any different. Also, they get the pin if they register before June 1.
Yeah, so that is the distinguishing factor. If you registered to be invested as a master guide before June 1, this is all on the camporee.org website, then Camporee through Advent Source is providing your master guide investiture items. If you registered after June 1, then the individual is responsible for providing their own investiture items.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yes.
Very good.
Okay, and I just want to know if the Florida conference then is aware, because we did that in on the CYE website. So is Florida conference aware of the different clubs who would be investing master guides, because we have to put in the director's name and everything. So does that populate with you?
Yeah, thank you for that. So far, I have not received a list from Camporee of Florida Conference Master Guide investees. That doesn't mean they don't have it or won't send it. It just means I've not yet received it, to answer your question.
Thank you.
Pastor Pedro, I saw a question on YouTube that what if the 15-passenger van is your personal family vehicle just for your family?
Yeah, that's come up before. I think the answer that I have to give is if it's for your own family, you're assuming all the risks as family, you're not taking any other Pathfinders. I can't say anything against or for that. Like that's all your personal choice for a family. If that family at any point chooses to transport Pathfinders, that's where the whole conversation changes. If you as a family have looked at the reviews and decided that this is the vehicle that best fits your family needs, then that's up to you and your family. We would just ask that as a family, you would not transport any non-family members in your vehicle for this event, to this event, from this event, or anything related to the event.
And what time does the program end Saturday night?
Ooh, probably plan on 10:30, 11, but most people probably won't go to bed till 12 or 1. I believe buses can start to come in Saturday night. All those exit things we'll talk about next time to make sure we're giving you the right information. I see here sandbags. We won't have sandbags for you. Sandbags the question is there because you're not supposed to have stakes that are longer than 6 inches to anchor things down. I know we're planning to bring some sandbags for our canopies that we're going to be using for different things to provide weight for those. But at this point, no, there is not a plan to provide sandbags because if you have sandbags, then you're going to need sand, right? And we don't have sand or sandbags available there. Another question I see, no, there are no more decontainers and there's not another truck. I think we're already maxed out with our team to be able to unload 3 trucks and then reload 3 trucks and get them out of there in a timely fashion at Gillette. So I'm sorry for that. It is another full semi. In 2019, Florida took 2 semis, In 2024, we'll take 3 semis, and we're going to have to see what the future holds, but we're going to have to get different resources if we're going to take another truck. So for this time, we did cap it at 3 trucks. All right. Is there anyone who would like to raise their hand, or the chat, we missed your question, or somebody from somewhere else? Were there any other YouTube questions?
There was a question in the chat about they read on CYE website that sink water needed to be dumped in a specific grade containers. Are we going to have to collect our dirty water, not drain into the ground?
That's correct. They are asking that all gray water, all dirty water be taken to the containers and dumped there, not into the ground. That is correct. That's my understanding.
2 hands on the screen. Anthony Shaw and Wale. That's what I said.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Anthony is muted. You can go to Walaine.
Good evening, everyone. My question is, do we have information available to us right now regarding food vendors so we can tell the kids how to, budget, how much money they'll spend?
I don't, and I haven't looked for that on the website. I know where the food vendor area will be. I know that the Italian pizza guys are coming back. I know that from here in Florida, some of our Venezuelan people from Altamont Spring Spanish will be a food vendor. So I know that we have those things, but I don't have more details about food vending for you. Does anyone else have more details? Okay. In the chat, I see a question about there was a recent email for anyone who needed to get additional decontainers. I didn't know that that was an email that our office sent out because we've been sold out of decontainers for months. So I'm not sure how to answer that. The question, portable showers will be allowed. You mean personal portable showers, as in not portable showers that the Camporee is providing? Is that the question?
Yes.
Wow. I'm going to guess that they will discourage that and maybe not permit that.
I think the problem with that, Pastor, is that the water might run to somebody else's campground, and that person will be very happy.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can imagine with 60,000 people, sanitary is what we want to keep things, right? And showering and dirt and all that, and then other people's campsites. So I'm going to say, yeah, don't plan on bringing personal shower system, not for this event. I see a question in the chat about an update for golf carts. We are finally getting some information from Camporee to Southern Union to us, and we are working on final details. Our goal will be to send out an email on that before July 4 so that we can let everybody know what's going on with golf carts. Regarding camp layout, we are waiting for the Southern Union to work with Camporee to tell us what's the quadrant size, what's the dimensions of the roads that they're laying out, and what's the dimensions of the camping territories. I think they were working on something like a big rectangle of 100 by 50 or 80 feet. Once we get those dimensions, we can start to build a map. Our disadvantage is that the terrain at Gillette is not one big flat field. There are some spots of the campsite that Southern Union gave to Florida Conference that will not be campable space. Part of that is because of the angle of the hill. And so we need to delay our final map to where we actually are on site putting that together. So we're going to try to get you the best we can. Originally, I told this group that we wanted to give you a map beforehand. You could see the dimensions of your space and all that. But after we got to Gillette and saw where they're putting us and the challenges of the terrain, we said that's going to be very difficult. We did try to get a meeting to go back to Gillette, to be able to survey the land and do it and map it out. And we were told that because of the different events that are happening at Gillette, Camplex was not going to allow anybody else to go back. That came to us. So we said, we're going to have to wait until we get there. The good news is that the Wednesday before you arrive on Monday, we'll have people with boots on the ground. Thursday, Friday, they'll be setting stuff up. As soon as we can map that out, we can send it back and try to get that out to you. I know that's late and that's not what we wanted. That's not what you want, but that is where we are with the tent space and the layout for your campsite, getting you the dimensions of what you have. But we will at least try to tell you no campsite will be more narrow than 40 feet or 50 feet. So you can at least start to plan that way.
Anthony Shaw, if you can unmute, there he goes.
Yes, I'm back now. Maybe I covered it earlier on, but for cooking gas, can the club pre-order it and have it dropped somewhere on site, or how will that be angled for cooking gas?
Yeah, so you can cook with one of the big propane tanks, with one of the little individual stove propane tanks, and you can get all of that delivered to Camporee or purchase it on site when you get there, or pre-order it from Home Depot, pre-order it from Walmart. You can do all of that. We won't let that get transported in the D container either to Gillette or back to Florida. So if you buy a big tank and you only use 10 pounds of the 50 pounds of gas that's in there, the 40 pounds of gas is going to have to stay there because that can't come back in the D container. So just know that that's how we'll handle that. I see a hand on the bottom. Gary?
Yeah, question, is the Florida Conference providing transportation from the campsite to where the events are taking place?
To the events, you mean the activities of Camporee?
Activities and the night events as well.
Yeah.
Because I know that it was like 2 miles walk or something like that.
Yeah, so I can clarify that. From where Florida Conference is camping at one side of the campgrounds to the other side of camp, it's about 1 mile. So it's not 2 miles. Round trip, it'll be 2 miles. So that's about a 20-minute walk, maybe 25, 30 minutes with a group of kids. So that's that distance. During the day, there is a bus route. Think of Camplex as a rectangle and a bus route that goes around the outside of the rectangle. So you can get to anywhere in the outside of that rectangle at a bus stop, and it'll take you to the other side on another bus stop. There will be bus stops that will take you into town to do purchases. So if you don't have a vehicle or you don't want to drive a vehicle, or the person with the vehicle is doing something else, you can get on the bus, go into town, purchase what you need. I think there's a stop at Walmart, get what you need, come back at a certain time. I think it's every 15 minutes they're trying to get back on the bus, come back. Florida Conference is not doing all of that shuttling. Camporee is doing all of that shuttling. So you can have Camporee pick you up on the bus, take you around to different places. There are some off-site activities where you'll go over to the campus where there's a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, or you'll go over to another building where there are honors being taught. Those buses and shuttles also are all being run by Camporee. For most of that transportation, there is no cost. There are a few things that are a cost because they're farther away, and there are some things that there is not public Camporee transportation, but you have to provide your own transportation at your own expense. But once you get there, the activity is part of your Camporee ticket.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can we have kerosene torches?
You may use a kerosene torch, but in the list of things that are approved and not approved, that has to be empty of gas, and it has to have been emptied for a week for you to just let it air out. And then we know when you come back with it, it's going to have to be emptied again, and you're going to have to at least let it air out overnight on that case to be able to take just the lamp back. And then you're going to have to pack it well because it's glass.
And what about water/sewer for RVs in the campsite?
Yeah, so RVs in the campsite will not have running water from a hose, but you can get your tank filled to have running water inside your RV. And Camporee will also provide numbers and information to have your dirty water, gray water, pumped out. So in a campsite for Florida Conference, you can have an RV if that's your one vehicle in your campsite. That's up to you. You get to choose which vehicle that is. And that vehicle will not have services except for filling the water and emptying the water. Outside of that, that vehicle can't be moved. So if it's an RV, you can't drive the RV and go to a dump station and then come back in and park. You won't be allowed to do that. So please make plans, and yes, Camporee will provide for those numbers and costs for those services.
Mozart has his hand up.
Okay, Mozart?
I thought that was very interesting when you mentioned that there are activities that are included in our Camporee ticket, but we would actually have to find our own transportation to get there. Do you have any example of those, or will they be specifically identified on the Camporee website?
They are specifically identified on the campsite, and I do have an example. If I'm not mistaken, there is an excavation site that's about 2 hours away one way. And that excavation site is where Pathfinders, with their own transportation that they provide, can get out to the excavation site. And then when they get there, they'll actually do like an archaeological dig where they'll look for artifacts at the excavation site. That's something that is clearly marked on the Camporee website as an example of something that you have to provide your own transportation. But once you get there, that activity is part of or discounted and included in your ticket.
Okay. What about
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Will there be a garbage site, or will there be pickups at a certain time?
Yes, there will be garbage locations, dumpsters. The city of Gillette will come and empty those dumpsters. And that's something where our responsibility is to make sure everything is bagged and placed inside the dumpster. One of the biggest challenges for a dumpster is when people pile trash all around it, and then you can't even access the dumpster to empty it. So we'll want to be good neighbors with that and make sure only trash goes inside. Javier, we are coming up to where we'll give you a chance as our camping director to share anything. I know that there are some other questions coming in. Thank you, Kelvin, for the schedules link.
Pastor, I don't know if you're going to do it on the July meeting, but we'll talk about baptism if they want to do baptism there as well. I think there's a link for the form that they need to complete. This is Eartha.
Yeah, thank you, Eartha. We are creating another document that gives you all the steps, 2 steps. One, register that you have a Pathfinder that wants to be baptized with Florida, so we know about it directly. And then also there's a form to fill out for Camporee, so they have you on their radar. And that is something that we already have several Pathfinders and even some adults who are saying we want to be baptized. So we're very happy for that information, and we're going to be posting a document to the website soon. So you get that information and can make sure that you get registered with us and registered with the Camporee. Water supplies. Is water supplies, the question is water supplies for an RV or for just cooking and cleaning your dishes and stuff?
Cooking, cleaning.
Yeah, so there will either be water faucets or water stations. In 2019, they called them water buffaloes. And depending on where you're camped, whether you're close to a faucet, that's what you'll use. Or if you're farther away and more remote, they'll put a water buffalo there to be able to help you get water so you don't have to walk so far to get it. This is where most clubs have a wagon that helps them to carry that water because they know that water gets heavy as you have to carry it. All right. Javier, are there things that you would like to share with us? Or?
Yes, pretty much everything that we had talked tonight, it was on my list. So everything was covered. But there's one thing very important that I want to cover is volunteers. Southern Union will have 4 big shower trailers that is going to be used by all Southern Union people. And we need to manage the showers on Tuesday. Florida will be managing the showers on Tuesday, and we need a lot of volunteers. we need 28 volunteers per shift. So, and we're managing every 4 hours the entire day. So I'm not sure exactly how to manage the volunteers. If you have people that are willing to help, go ahead and send an email. I'm gonna put my email on the chat, so you can go ahead and send me the names and the club number and maybe the phone number, because it's gonna be a lot of volunteers, and we only can do it with your help. There's no way that we have that amount of volunteers from Florida, staff to provide for those showers. Also, we need help with the honors, not teaching the honors, but helping the person who is going to be teaching the honor. And so if you wanted to get involved that way, or know somebody who wants to get involved, please let me know. If not, we're gonna have to find a way to have clubs. I don't want to say the word, but maybe mandatory volunteering helping us, because there's no way that we can do it ourselves. So we're gonna be probably follow up with an email, regarding this issue, to see if we can do this before the next meeting that we have. That way we can have the schedule already done. And we need females and we need males for the showers.
Javier?
Yes.
This is Marilyn. My hand is up, so I'll take it down. We will also need volunteers for security, please.
Thank you very much, Marilyn.
Might I suggest, if you're looking for volunteers, that maybe you create something like a sign up genius or something like that, so that people can register online and you have slots where people can do it. This is the same way that the Dino digs. You would register for that. That way, Javier, people aren't just basically texting you and calling you. You don't know where people are, and you know how many people you need to have a particular slot.
Okay, and what is the name again of that?
Sign Up Genius is a free service that I've used in the past.
That's an excellent idea. Thank you.
Very good. Mozart, your hand's up.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't put it down from the last time. Sorry about that.
No worries. I'll
Yeah,
lower
he's
it
just
for you.
paralyzed. He's paralyzed.
And there's a note in the chat. Things slowed down a little bit, so I'm peeking over there. At this point, they are saying stakes over 6 inches shouldn't be used. So think about your camping tents. Some of you have rented larger tents than that. Those large tents require large stakes to hold them down. So we are asking that if you have, that's what the whole questionnaire was for. If you have those large tents and you didn't let us know, please let us know, because the area has to be tested to make sure there aren't water lines or electric lines that would be potentially damaged by those large stakes. So they'll help us say, this has to go here or there. And that's part of what makes setting up the campsites a little trickier as well, is that detail. So there are buried lines in the camping areas, and that's something that's changing some of the dynamics of how we set stuff up. Someone also said that someone's doing a promotion for shirts for $10. So think about that. We just started getting our samples of our Camporee shirts, both the t-shirt and the other shirt. So we're excited about that. Those things are coming in. So details are moving forward, and we're excited for what's happening. We know there's still more to do. Hopefully things are going well for you. If we can help in some way, or you have a question or something you want to find out, please feel free to ask us. If you haven't been to camporee.org, probably a good thing to go there and just start sifting through the webpage. If you haven't been to our webpage, BTP FloridaConference.com, good thing for you to do. Start to review that information. We'll start posting some new things up there as well to keep you updated. So please watch for that. And we'll keep giving you all the information we can, because we know that information can help you have the best experience possible. So there are going to be toilets and showers close by. we are responsible for keeping our own Southern Union bathhouse clean. So we don't go over to Mid-America or to Atlantic Union and clean their bathrooms or monitor their bathrooms, because the deep cleaning is done by a different crew. The monitoring is just making sure kids keep moving, that they pick up their stuff, they don't leave things behind, that they don't stay in the shower for an hour. That's the monitoring side that we're asking our volunteers to do. So that's that stuff. Yes, there will be veggie food tent on site. It will be right next to the Morningside grandstand. And I don't know if it's only pre-order. I think there's also some stuff that you can get on site without pre-order. But the way to guarantee you get what you want is to pre-order. So I do recommend that.
And Pastor, I just got a text from Jose. I'm just gonna read it. Can you ask if there's a club that might have 22 seats available in their bus? Hialeah is no longer going on bus. So I'm just throwing that in.
Okay, so 22 seats.
22 seats.
Okay, so if you're looking for seats, there are 22 seats available. Yeah, and porta potties will be there in addition. So you'll have flush toilets, showers, some showers in bathhouses, some showers in tents that are kind of mobile. I don't know that there are other lights out. There may be some street lights. I don't remember street lights from nighttime. So yeah, different things there. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. I know that it's a lot to do and a lot to be prepared for. Again, read as much as you can to try to get informed as much as you can so that you can know what's going on. Marcia, a final question.
Yes, please. Pastor, are we going to get a list of all of the areas that we'll need to provide volunteers for so that we can decide ahead of time who's going where at what time?
Yeah, good question. We will have a Florida Conference volunteer coordinator, someone who puts all that together, and to have it all in one place to say how many people on which days for what activities, that is a great idea, and that's what we're working towards. Thank you for that.
And Pastor, I just put my email address on the chat. This is for volunteers until we can set up something a little bit more organized. But at least if you know somebody who can help on the shower duty, security, and honors, you can at least send me that information. Also, I put there my phone number. If you don't want to send me an email, you can text me, and I put my phone number there too.
Thank you, Javier. I didn't see your number come through.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat.
Did you put it in the waiting group or in the? Try again if you would, please.
You might have sent it only to me. Changed it back to group chat, meeting group chat.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I sent it to Amaris. Yeah, that's right.
Nice call.
Thank you, Amaris.
At least you saw it, though. That's good. All right. Marcia, is your hand up still for something else, or is that just up from last time? Okay, very good. So
Sorry,
we do have.
it was just up from last time. I'll take it down.
No worries, no worries. So we do have one more of these meetings planned just to try to get your questions answered, to try to share information with you. The next meeting is going to hit heavily on what check-in looks like, what you do, where you go, what you need to have, what the Camporee check-in is going to look like, what Florida Camporee is going to look like, what gate you need to go in. We'll have a map that we'll share on the screen so you see that. We'll have the coordinates for that gate so you have that to put into your GPS, and we'll go through all those details. I will remind everyone tonight, now we see it, Javier, thank you. Tonight, I'll remind everyone that we do want everyone coming through that one gate. That's the only way you'll access Florida Conference campsites is through that one gate, and the road will be one way. So if you pass something, they're going to ask you to just keep going and loop and come back around. Imagine 3,700 people just for Florida, about 12,000 people for Southern Union, all coming through one way and trying to get to their campsites. And we want to keep that one way respected, right? We want to make sure that we from Florida follow that one-way sign and make sure that we don't go back against traffic and cause other issues. I will remind everyone also that Monday, 8 a.m. on August 5 is the first time that you as clubs can come and start to set up and start to do your stuff. So please plan your travel itinerary accordingly. Please do not come on a bus on Sunday and have the driver tell you, I have to drop you off. I got to go back. You got to figure it out. There will be no way for you to figure it out. He'll have to drop you off at a hotel if you can find one that has rooms, but you can't come and start setting up your campsite on Sunday. You have to wait until Monday, 8 a.m., and that's at Camporee's request. So please keep that in mind. The last reminder, Tuesday at noon is when activities open. Tuesday at noon. So if you do come Monday at 8 a.m., you got to plan activities after you set up campsites and do all that. You've got to say, what do I do with the kids for the rest of the day? There's no activities, there's no program, there's nothing. Nothing happening until Tuesday at noon. So please keep those times. Monday 8, everything opens in terms of access, but then Tuesday noon, everything opens in terms of activities. All right. I see a hand from Anna. Is that a hand to ask a question before we wrap up?
Pastor, yo escuché que usted nombró a Altamonte, no sé si usted estaba haciendo alguna pregunta sobre el club o sobre el food vendor, escuché algo así, pero como no entiendo mucho, ¿me podría repetir, por favor?
Está bien, sí. Alguien preguntó si alguien sabe de los vendedores, quiénes van a ser, qué tipo de comida van a tener. Y yo mencioné que de Florida tenemos algunos que van a ser food vendors y uno de ellos es Altamont Spring Spanish.
Ah, ok. Ah, eso era. Ah, está bien.
Sí.
Bueno, pues, gracias.
The question was, she heard her club name mentioned and wasn't sure why, and I told her I was just saying that Altamont Spring Spanish is one of the food vendors from Florida that we know will be out there making some yummy food for us and for whoever else wants it. All right, thank you everyone for coming on. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate what you're doing. This is an event that if you've been to one before, you know how impactful it is for kids. It's something they remember for a lifetime. So please keep that in mind. When you get tired of the details or when you get worn out from all the planning, just remember what it's going to be like for your Pathfinders to be there with thousands of other Pathfinders, being at the night program, with singing the theme song, with their flashlights out, and just having a sense of the presence of God like it's hard to recreate when you're 10 people or 200 people or even 3,000 or 4,000 people. There's something about being together with everybody, 60,000 plus people, the programming being on point, the sermon being on point, the music, and God uses those moments to draw kids to him. And that's why we go to Camporee. That's why we do all that we do, is for those moments for kids to have a chance to either connect with God for the first time in a real way or to reconnect with him after being away from him. And it even works for adults, right? It even works for us to get reconnected and to see God in a fresh way and to give him access to our lives. So if you haven't been, you're in for a treat. If you have been, you kind of know what to expect. Keep praying for your kids. We're praying for you as leaders, and may God bless you as you do all that you do for Pathfinders here in Florida. Thank you very much. All right, let me pray for us and then we'll close off for tonight. Our God and our Father, thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for each leader, for all that they've given, for all their time and sacrifice, for all the energy and effort that they've put into planning, for all the details that they've spent time going over and over and over. And I pray that you'll bless all their efforts. I pray that Florida Pathfinders and all the Pathfinders present will be blessed by everything they experience. For some kids, it'll come through an honor class where you break through into their world. For others, it might be on a soccer field. For others, it'll be in the program. And for others still, it might be while they're watching the rodeo. You have so many ways to get our attention, to draw us near to you. So we want to draw near to you. We want to continue to put our lives in a position to be as close to you as possible so that we can have spiritual impact in the lives of the kids that we lead and that we can continue to watch your hand at work in their lives and in ours. We thank you for all that you've done, for all that you're about to do, and we love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.